Hello students, welcome to BBA 204. Today I will talk about part 2 of chapter 19, which is managing quality and performance. In my earlier lecture, in part 1, I talk about different systems of financial controls. In part 2 of my lecture, I will talk about hierarchical versus decentralized approaches, as well as open book management and corporate governance. Hierarchical control involves monitoring and influencing employee behavior through policies, rules, hierarchy of authority, written documentation, and reward systems. Unlike decentralized approaches, hierarchical methods define explicit rules, policies, and procedures for employee behavior. In the hierarchical approach, management control relies on centralized authority, the formal hierarchy, and close personal supervision. Responsibility for quality control rests with quality control inspectors and supervisors rather than employees. Hierarchical control techniques can enhance organizational efficiency and effectiveness. Unlike hierarchical approaches, decentralized controls rely on shared values and goals to control employee behavior. Managers operate on the assumption that employees are trustworthy and willing to perform effectively without extensive rules and close supervision. As you can see here, in the decentralized approaches, there are no extensive or strict rules of supervision. The assumption behind it is trustworthiness and willingness to perform effectively without extensive rules and direct supervision or guidance. So in this model, the rules are more relaxed and are more based on employees' initiatives to self-control and perform effectively without guidance. In this approach, the organization places great emphasis on the selection and socialization of employees to ensure that workers have the values needed to influence behavior. With decentralized control, the work culture is adaptive, and managers recognize the importance of culture for uniting individual, team, and organizational goals for greater overall control. Again, in the decentralized approaches, teamwork is very, very important. Teamwork, shared responsibility, as opposed to direct guidance, direct supervision, or written rules in the hierarchical approach. Here is the table that summarizes the basic assumptions, actions, and the consequences, implications of each model. Please make sure to review table 19.6 before you prepare or while you are preparing for your final examination. Now let's look at some examples of decentralized approaches. One major example for decentralized approach is the open book management. Open book management is a decentralized method of control. This type of approach, meaning the open book management, allows employees to see the financial condition of the company for themselves through charts, computer printouts, meetings, and so forth. So there is a much more greater transparency and responsibility within the organization, meaning that employees have a right to see the financial condition of the company and to review the financial statements through charts, computer printouts, meetings, and so forth and so on. Open book management shows the individual employee how his or her job fits into the big picture and affects the financial future of the organization. In addition, this approach ties employee rewards to the company's overall success. The goal of open book management is to get every employee thinking and acting like a business owner rather than a simple hired personnel. So now let's look at table 19.7, asking the question of which countries have the most secretive economies. So if you look at this table very carefully, you will see that there is a relationship between secretiveness and open book management. The countries that have most secretive economies have also less faith in open book management. Therefore, there is an inverse or negative relationship between the transparency or secretiveness of the economies and faith in open book management. Most secretive means least transparent, least democratic, and most corrupt business practices. So in some countries, managers have trouble running an open book company because the prevailing cultural attitudes and standards foster confidentiality and secrecy concerning financial results. So these countries have very secretive economies or companies which do not like to share the financial results of the company with the public. So the prevailing cultural attitudes and standards rather foster secrecy, privacy, confidentiality concerning the financial results of the company. Many business people in countries like China, Russia, and India are not accustomed to publicly disclosing financial details. Here in this table, you will see the opacity index. What is an opacity index? The opacity index indicates the degree to which countries are open and transparent regarding economic and business matters, right? It indicates the degree to which countries are open and transparent and willing to share information regarding economic and business matters. The higher the rating, the more opaque or hidden is the economy. In other words, the higher the rating, the more opaque or hidden or secretive the economy. For instance, if you look at the table, the United States has an opacity rating of 23, which is fairly or reasonably low. In countries with higher ratings, rather, financial figures are typically closely guarded and managers do not share information with employees and the public. So higher the rating, higher the secretiveness or higher the opaqueness, and less willingness to share information with employees and the public. Globalization has an impact on economic opacity by encouraging a convergence towards global accounting standards that support accurate collection, recording, and reporting of financial information. Another popular approach based on decentralized philosophy is total quality management, TQM. Total quality management infuses quality into every activity in a company through continuous improvement. Total quality management focuses on teamwork, increasing customer satisfaction, and lowering costs. And hence TQM is another example of decentralized approaches in management. Organizations implement TQM by encouraging managers and employees to collaborate across functions and departments, as well as with customers and suppliers, to identify areas for improvement, no matter how small the business is. Each quality improvement is a step towards perfection and meeting a goal of zero defects. Don't forget, the goal of total quality management is always perfection and zero defects in results. Here are some total quality management techniques, starting with the quality circles, for instance. In the quality circles, managers gather a group of 6 to 12 volunteer employees, and these employees meet regularly to discuss and solve problems affecting the quality of their work. They meet during work week to identify problems and find solutions. So if we look at the 5 steps in the total quality management, another important step, as you see in figure 19.8, is benchmarking. Benchmarking is the continuous process of measuring products, services, and practices against the toughest competitors, or those companies recognized as industry leaders, to identify areas of improvement within your own company. So why are organizations using benchmarking? Well, they use benchmarking to learn from the competitors, especially the toughest competitors, the best performers in the industry. They use it for generating new business ideas, assessing market demand, or identifying best practices within an industry. As you see, the benchmarking is a 5-step process: planning, finding, collecting, analyzing, and improving. In the case of the analyzing, the data has been analyzed and collected, and areas for improvement are recommended to managers. The 5th step includes implementing recommendations and then monitoring them through continuous benchmarking, meaning through continuously comparing your company to the toughest competitors or best performers in the field. And now let's look at the Six Sigma, which is another approach that is being used in total quality management. Don't forget, compared to the others, Six Sigma is the most ambitious quality standard. It is the most ambitious quality standard because it specifies a goal of no more than 3.4 defects per million parts. The reason why we find it so ambitious, because it tries to set very high standards. And these standards is the goal of no more than 3.4 defects per million parts. Do you know what this means? This means effectively 99.99% error-free. This means 99.99% error-free most of the time. Six Sigma has become a generic term for a quality control approach that takes nothing for granted and emphasizes higher quality and lower cost. The discipline that Six Sigma is based on is define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. It is based on the notion of DMAIC: define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. This methodology, meaning Six Sigma, provides a very structured way for solving problems. Effectively implementing Six Sigma requires a major commitment from top management because widespread change and control are effectively required. And another approach in total quality management is quality partnering. Quality partnering involves assigning dedicated personnel with a particular functional area of the business. In this approach, the quality control personnel works alongside others within a functional area, identifying opportunities for quality improvements throughout the work process. This integrated partnering approach to quality makes it possible to detect and address defects early in the product life cycle, when especially they can be corrected most easily. And the final approach is the continuous improvement. Continuous improvement, also known as Kaizen, is the implementation of a large number of small incremental improvements in all areas of the organization on an ongoing basis. All employees are expected to contribute by initiating changes in their own job activities. There is no end to the process. Innovations can start simply, and employees can build on their success. The increasing significance of the global economy provides one impetus for total quality management in the United States. ISO 9000 standards are based on a set of international standards for quality management systems established by the International Standards Organization, ISO, in Geneva, Switzerland. Hundreds of thousands of organizations in 157 countries have been certified to demonstrate their commitment to quality. ISO certification has become the recognized standard for evaluating and comparing companies on a global basis. Many countries and companies require ISO certification before they will do business with an organization. And the final topic that I will be covering is the corporate governance issue in management. Corporate governance was traditionally defined as the ways in which an organization safeguards the interests of shareholders. However, now they have modified the meaning of the term. Now the term has been expanded to refer to the framework of systems, rules, and practices by which an organization ensures accountability, fairness, and transparency in its relationships with all stakeholders, including investors, employees, customers, and the general public. Okay, it is generally again defined in more general terms as a system of rules, practices, or framework of systems by which an organization ensures accountability with all stakeholders, including not only shareholders and investors, but also employees, customers, and the general public. Many organizations have moved towards increased control from the top in terms of corporate governance. Some corporate failures can be attributed to under control because top managers did not keep personnel tabs on everything in a large global organization. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002 requires several types of reforms, including better internal monitoring to reduce the risk of fraud, certification of financial reports by top leaders, improved measures for external auditing, and enhanced public disclosure. Global regulators from 27 countries recently imposed new rules and restraints on financial institutions designed to limit risk-taking and increase oversight. In addition, the US Securities and Exchange Commission now requires that companies justify their board structure in financial statements to ensure that boards are designed in a way to provide needed oversight of management actions. Thank you very much for listening to my lecture. And in the next part of my lecture, I will talk about human resource management, which will be chapter 12. Thank you again and see you next class. Have a good day.